Superintendent Roland Hernandez, and we also have the police chief for CCISD. Thank you for joining us for our annual visit here, the back to school. A chance to kind of remind parents what we're all about and what y'all are up to this year. We really appreciate y'all being here.
You know, I was just letting you know as soon as I walked in. It seems like just yesterday we were telling the kids, have a safe summer. And now it's welcome back. Are you ready?
I know, a lot of excitement this year already with the new Creekside Elementary opening. We saw that taking place. What do you hope for that new school, and especially here on the south side of town?
We're just so excited about the opening of the new school. We have some schools that were kind of starting to feel a little overcrowded out in that part of town. Colda is a big elementary school, and so we're able to redraw some lines, get some students in that area. But if you drive out that way, you'll notice just how much growth there is. New subdivisions, there's also going to be some apartment complexes coming out that way. And if you'll notice also the new apartments that opened up along the Del Mar South new campus, we just see what's coming. We want to stay ahead of it and not get behind it.
I would imagine part of that allows also for a better ratio of student to teacher in there as well. So, but with the new Creekside, let's talk a little bit about school zones that are going in there because the school's farther off of Yorktown, but we know Yorktown's expanding. Just how you see that as a safety feature and what you're looking for there.
This is, I'm so glad we're doing the conversation and the back to school, and you're right, it did feel like we just finished graduations and here we are starting up again. But we appreciate this opportunity just to share with our parents and remind all of our community that this is that time of year where we really have to have all of them be very patient. Regardless if the school is an older school or newer school, we have our school zones that are going to be starting to flash in the neighborhoods to pay close attention during the drop-offs and pickups. And it's a new time for everybody because whether you're new to a school, everyone's learning the routines of where do the buses drop off, where do the parents drop off their kids or walk them into the door. It just takes a little transition time, a week or two, to get that settled. As far as Creekside goes, there is a lot of road work out that way. We're just reminded that when we built Colda, it was still the 2-lane road, and over time it became now the 5-lane, I think it is. So working with the city, you know, being a team together with them, and helping them and them helping us, it is going to be a little congested for a while.
Especially with the development of the middle school that's behind it.
Right, exactly. But I think with getting some procedures in place and them feeling more comfortable, it's going to be okay. The other thing too is that because Creekside is a brand new school, it is not going to open at the 900 student capacity. It's going to open up much smaller, probably in the 300 to 400 range, and over the years have some space to grow. It's going to really help a lot.
Now with the rezoning, I know that a lot of parents have questions on, okay, so rezoning something new, or is it different bus routes? Like, where can they get all this new information concerning their school?
Yeah, so all of our administrators are on duty now. They're back at their schools. Our teachers all started today. So the first approach would be to just contact the school. If they can't get the answer there fast enough, they can always go to our district website, our ccisd.us. We have our transportation information there, as well as our district, Leanne's department in communications, our chief communications officer. They can submit any questions they have, and then someone from the district will respond to what their concerns are, just to make them feel better.
Perfect. Now I know that a huge concern for all is safety for all parents, students, staff. Any new safety policies for CCISD this year?
We're fortunate. We're in a lull for our legislative sessions, so the legislators have not created any new laws that would affect us, and we are fully in line with everything that came out from the last legislative session. So from a safety perspective, we are compliant with everything. In fact, we're very, very progressive when it comes to school safety. And really set the trend as much as follow state law.
A huge concern has been, a huge concern has been vaping, especially how they're hiding it nowadays with these accessories. A lot of the vaping accessories it could be a pencil, it could be a highlighter, it could be a lipstick. How do you keep up with all of that?
Well, it's kind of a great story in that our athletic director, Brenda Marshall, went to a conference. I went to a conference. Apparently, we both saw the same vendor. So there's a system that we're looking at, and we're going to sample it for this year that basically detects those things. And so we're going to do it in small batches to see how effective it is and then scale it if it works out.
How tricky is that monitoring? How do you reason with these kids? Like, hey, we know that you're growing, you're wanting to experiment with things, but this is something you should really shy away from.
Education is one of the key things to do it. Get it out there. And we're doing it, but teaching kids that vaping is not a healthy alternative. It's bad for you. Education is more important, I think, than enforcement. You know, we don't want to a right and you want to arrest them. We don't want to take them to jail. We want them to not do the behavior. And so getting in front of it, there's lots of information out there about how bad it is. It's clear in our student code of conduct, all the information we pass out, that it's not allowed at school. And so staying in front of it and then staying vigilant.
I know we're here at Dorothy Atkins Middle School, a great facility. I mean, it's just beautiful. I had nothing like this when I was in middle school. Sometimes, though, and it's not just this campus, but others, there are fights that do break out. That's another issue I know parents are concerned about. How do you monitor that? How does...
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, conversations. If you think, as a student, that you're in a situation where you might, please contact a trusted adult at the campus. If not the police officer, the principal, someone you trust, your counselor, your teacher, let somebody know and don't wait for it to come to a head.
And when we were talking about this before the interview, you took out your cell phone. That's kind of the initial start, which will segue into back to the superintendent. But
well, there's so many different ways for antagonisms to take place, and cell phone, I think, just exacerbates that. And then it creates an audience. And in the, I want to go viral culture, sometimes they'll set these things up just for the purposes of getting something. So cell phone issues sometimes will create an environment where they want to do it just to get the clicks.
And I was going to bring that up, cell phone. That is an issue. So are there any new policies at CCISD concerning cell phones?
There is. And so the thing that I'll share first is we've had some policies in place, regulations, but I'll also be the first to admit that it has not been enforced to the level it needs to be. And so we know that you can have things in place, but if they're not enforced, it's almost like they're not in place.
So it's starting over, essentially.
It is. It's just reminding people and educating them, here's what we say we are going to do. We need to make sure we do it. So, for example, one of the things that we're piloting right now at Coles High School is a program called Yonder, Y-O-N-D-R. This is where every student will have to put their phones in a pouch. They have no access to the phone the entire school day. At the end of the day, they'll deactivate it to where they can get their phones out. Now, of course, if there are emergencies or medical reasons, they can work with their administrations and do what they need to do. That's something that we're looking at to decide, do we want to go district-wide with that? So we're going to start real small. As far as across the rest of the district, we really are going to come down pretty hard and enforce the cell phones. So for the most part, we say their cell phones are not allowed during the instructional period or the instructional day, meaning that the minute a student walks into class, those cell phones are put away. They may be able to check them during the lunch hour or during the transition, and again, for emergency purposes, but they will not have the liberty to just pull them out and use them throughout the entire day. I do agree with what the chief said and also what you mentioned. Cell phones, while they have a place in different places, create a lot of challenges and make things very difficult for our teachers and our administrators on the campus, and especially our students. And we don't want students to come to school to worry and feel like those issues are going to come up. We want them to feel safer and to enjoy school. So if it means the district and the campus administrators to crack down much harder, to try to prevent as much bullying through social media and cell phones, there's just not a place in it here in the schools, and we need to get a little bit more stronger with our enforcement and do something about it. And that's been our message across the summer into the beginning of the first day, and we're getting ready to send some communication out to our parents and the community as to what exactly they can expect with cell phones.
And I was just thinking that this is the next thing that I want to ask is about bullying. I know that there's a proper way to report it. I remember last year you spoke about a certain program, a certain hotline, and we could talk about that.
It's still in place. It's very effective. A lot of times people want to report a concern, whether they're involved or not. But then many students hold back. They don't want to be the snitch, or they just don't want to tattle. And my take on all that is do it. If you're aware of it, these calls are anonymous. We're more concerned about the what is the issue, and let us learn more about it to address it. Nobody needs to know who reported it. Our concern more is about who are the students involved and what can we do to get in there and address it. And that goes for our students, our parents, our teachers. They can all call into this number. They can say, I've been made aware of a situation at a particular school, and we are going to jump on it right away. That alert goes to the campus administration as well as the district administration.
Back to the cell phones really quickly. I know there's been pushback from parents across the nation and some questions like, well, I want to be able to get in touch with my child right away if there's something going on, if I hear a rumor. And it does go back to what's trending on social media. It might not always be the truth. So how do we counteract that? What do you say to the parents that are concerned about getting directly in touch if they think something's wrong?
Yeah, I think that's a very great point. We just have to sometimes remember what it was like before cell phones were even allowed. And there are many districts across the state that don't even allow cell phones. You know, I think districts tried it out just to see how can we get this to work into the schools, just like we're starting to learn about more AI stuff. How do we get it to work and merge with what the schools are doing? But in the end, when it becomes a concern that it's affecting the way students are feeling at school, that becomes the highest priority. What I would say to address your question is they can call the front office. All of our teachers have classrooms in their school, phones in their classroom. If it's an emergency, the front office can just transfer the call to the teacher so that the parent can talk to the teacher. It does not have to go through a cell phone. We will get the information to the student. If the student needs to reach out back to the parent, we'll make sure the student comes to get the phone and call the parent back. What happens too much right now is it's just so random and loose that kids are either sending messages to their parents or parents are either sending messages to their students right in the middle of the class period. So it's very distracting, you know, so how can a student concentrate in the middle of a test if a parent is texting them, you're going to need to walk home from school today, I'm not going to be able to pick you up. Whatever it might be, it still becomes the same disruption. So again, finding ways that we can use it during the appropriate times of when it can be allowed, but not just free reign to do what you want with a cell phone during the day.
So there'll be a bit of a learning curve there.
For everybody, I think, you know, as a parent, yes, I am going to be concerned for my child, but there are rules.
Yes.
And there's always been rules. And as a parent, you need to teach your child that I'm going to follow the rules, you have to follow the rules.
Right.
I would also say, sign up for School Messenger if you haven't already.
Yes.
We will communicate out in the event of an emergency. And we will communicate out accurate information. A lot of times, inaccurate information gets put out, then it gets scaled through the viral process. And so sign up for School Messenger. Make sure that you're getting the right information from the source.
Stay connected.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's key. Absolutely.
Let's talk about mental health and wellness. A lot more focus on that in the recent years. Programs that are in place, maybe experimenting with a new concept to get kids to be aware that it's okay to express their feelings and in a safe environment. How do you create that?
We've worked really hard ever since we went through COVID. That is when it really picked up for all ages, staff, students, elementary, middle school, and high school, and we've not let up from that. While COVID has settled down, we've continued to keep that in place. Depression, anxiety, all these things that children and adults all experience. In CCISD, we have really picked up what we offer for our students as far as social workers, for the students and the families. These programs are available in the school. We provide services for all of our employees that are anonymous. You know, they can get free services, I think up to 5, with private counseling, whatever they're going through, it's between them and the counseling service. They can have services through telephone, almost like telemedicine, but teletherapy kind of thing. At our middle schools and high schools especially is where we're putting the social workers, mental health. They all have at least one, and we're strengthening the numbers to give them more. Again, just because these things come up every year, and whether we're able to do it 100% or not, the effort is there. We also have an amazing and an award-winning crisis team among our counselors in CCISD. They are very well known across the region. Many of the other districts call CCISD if we could send our counselors and crisis team to come to their school district to help them when they may have a student who took their own life, or situations that are going on in the school or in the community. And we are always very happy to send our team to those schools just to give them a little bit extra reinforcement.
I would imagine that also for you, Chief, it's one of those when you approach a situation, there's different things you have to take into consideration.
Well, you know, prevention is the key, but we also have a robust threat assessment, district level threat assessment team that trains all the campus level teams. So if there's suicidal ideation or homicidal ideation, that team will get together and everybody brings their information to the table to try to address it so we can prevent any tragedy.
I do have a question, and this is going back to safety and for you as well, Dr. Hernandez. Voting in the election just around the corner. I know a lot of the CCISD schools are open for voting places. So, what is a safety plan during that time for the schools?
We're very happy to partner with the county, who coordinates all the elections. And you're right, we have many locations across CCISD that we use to hopefully help the voters get out. It's really made a difference now that you don't have to only vote in your precinct, you can vote anywhere. Our schools are so much different today with the safety vestibules we've designed, especially the new ones where we have designated areas that community members can come to the school and not even touch the remainder of the school. So in some cases, if we want to use a gymnasium for the voting, they're away from the students the entire time, and they'll just come and park, have their one entry, one exit without interfering with the rest of it. And that has pretty much been what we've moved to, always keeping it to a point that we have visitors and to some degree strangers to our students coming into our schools, but not giving them access to the whole school or to be around the students.
And that's good to know.
I would also add that the district last year approved armed presence at every single campus within CCISD. So there's a member of my department at every campus within CCISD that the objective is to prevent anything or discourage any kind of negative behavior, but in the event something happens, we'll be there.
As we know, tensions are hot already, but
Yes.
for the elections coming up. Let's talk about teachers. And, everybody wants more money for their school. Everybody wants more funding. The challenges of getting those teachers to look at CCISD, to be a part of the team, and then once you have them, retaining them.
So we pride ourselves in that we offer far more than what the state minimum is for our teachers. That's across the board. We have outstanding stipends for our coaches and anyone who's involved with sponsoring clubs. We also have an outstanding compensation package where their benefits are the best in the region and comparable to the top 3 probably districts in the state. The contribution that the district makes to all of our employees' health coverage being covered as individuals, 100%, you just don't find that in schools or any profession that they're having to insurance. Insurance is very expensive. And so we see what our families are having to go through with this extra cost. So this past year, we were excited to give raises of 3%, 2%, and 1%. And that was staggered based on the number of years of experience. So just for example, we could have given our 1st to 6th year teachers the 1%, a 2% for 7 to say 15, and then anybody over 15, the 3%. That's to recognize the longevity of our teachers who are veteran teachers that got the highest percentage. And that varies from year to year depending on what districts can do. So you see some doing 1, some doing 3, it just varies from year to year. The new thing, though, that is great for all districts is the teacher incentive allotment. It's called TIA. And we have it here in CCISD. Not all districts have it. You have to qualify for it. You have to submit a plan to TEA, and it has to be accepted. And ours was accepted, so we've now paid out teachers over the last year. So on top of their teacher salary, they stand to earn as much as $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 more, depending on the success of their students and their performance on state assessments. So that's another incentive that teachers are really coming to in CCISD. We've even had teachers in administration that say, I want to go back into the classroom. If I can get that much extra money, I want to go back and teach it and earn it. And we're seeing teachers coming from all around the region and state to say, I'd like to get into Corpus Christi ISD because you do the TIA. It's paying off.
I know, speaking of which, you had touched on it, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but with COVID, you have a different wave of kids that are coming out of that, and then teachers having to deal with the stress of that. Teaching to these kids that are, for the first time, really, they're out of, 3rd, 4th grade now, the socializing, the learning in person, and then for the teachers having a chance to kind of reconnect. How challenging is that to address those needs? And I know that we saw testing scores for math were really low for those kids due to the at-home learning.
Very challenging. I know that parents have to work. They have to support their families, whether it's a 2-parent family, single-parent family. Some holding more than one job. Students even having to go to work to help their family and themselves. It took a lot away from the students to move away from the norm of what school is like. Too much freedom to do what they want when they want, and not a lot of supervision and structure. So bringing them back into the school has been reteaching them what it means to be back in school. More structure, following rules and guidelines, and then being more responsible for assignments. You know, these assignments weren't provided as optional. And during the time of COVID, when we're doing all distance learning, you're not really able to go and grade all these assignments. So it's just checking for understanding if they're doing the work. I think our teachers have done a really good job to bring students back into the classroom, and slowly but surely, before COVID, CCISD was well over 36,000 students. During COVID, we dropped to 31. Students just didn't go to school, parents were homeschooling them, and while the claim was students were getting homeschool, once they came back, we found out, no, they weren't. They're just really behind, and when you bring up the whole state math assessment scores, there's the proof. In order to be strong in math and in order to be strong in reading, you have to be in school every day and in some form of educational setting, whether it's homeschool or not, you have to get the instruction. So right now, we are getting right back to 34,000 students. Our students are coming back every year. They miss school, they miss socializing with their friends, not to mention the opportunities to participate in extracurricular. That's what we want to provide for them. So it has taken a little bit longer than we had hoped, but all we can do is be patient, grab them when they come in and just love on them and help them enjoy school. And I think with time, we'll continue to get them.
With more kids coming in, what is the teacher-student ratio overall?
I would say across the district, in your secondaries, you're going to probably have 20 to 23 to 1. And then your elementaries were very good. Again, that's why we do things like Creekside Elementary and redrawing boundary lines so that no one school gets too crowded that the teachers' classrooms are so big. Now, regardless of the schools from through 4th grade, they can only be at 22, no more than. But then in our 5th grade, we can get up to 25. But on average, I would say we're probably at the 23 to 1 in the 5th grade. Mm-hmm.
Artificial intelligence in the classroom. I would imagine from so many different levels, that's something everybody has to pay attention to. But how are you all incorporating it? How are you structuring it? What are you doing to make sure it's not abused?
Yeah, so I think with AI, our deal at first was we don't really deal with that too much around here. I know in other places, but not so much. That changed in a year. So our approach has been we need to embrace this. It's here, ready or not, and what can we do with it? We created as a district an artificial intelligence kit for all of our teachers to use. What we want to be mindful of and remind our families and students is while we're going to incorporate that into what we do with technology and into the classrooms, we still have to focus on the authenticity of the work. And we want the students to be reminded that a lot of AI, what you'll see is people trying to get AI to do the work for them.
Yes.
And we just can't let that happen. That is not going to get them into the universities and workforce that they want to if we just let it be too loose. And so that's what the kit is for.
It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be a challenge.
It is.
Let's talk about dress codes and how they're being enforced, especially middle school and high school.
We do have a standard mode of dress, and when I say that, we give a minimum of what we expect to see across the district. Campuses can be very different, and that administration with their campus site-based teams can decide, do we need a little bit more on this campus? So the district may say students are allowed to wear khaki pants and then any colored polo shirt. A campus can go as far to say, we are Atkins Middle School, we'll do the khaki pants, but the shirts of polo will only be their school colors. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we mean. We'll set the minimum. If you want to enforce a little bit more, you can. On our dress code, it is much better, but again, what we've seen as we get into the schools, it becomes a little laxed at time, and that's what we want. We don't want. We have to remind our schools to step it up and, kind of be a little bit more responsible and getting these students ready for their jobs and on with life, but sometimes too comfortable, and you see it everywhere. I've been in several districts. I've been in several campuses throughout a year. Sometimes students think the parachute pants, pajama pants are okay. No, they're not.
So you would never wear those?
Crocs and slippers and all that. No, those are not okay to come to school in with house shoes, things like that.
Yeah.
I know sometimes kids can be teased about what they're wearing
Yes.
too, so
Yeah.
it kind of helps keep that uniform and cut down again
Good
on
point.
fights that could break out or any kind of back and forth.
And the clear bag policies, has that been effective?
It has been the best. We put it in place. We had a couple questions up front, but when they saw that it was for everybody, kind of like kids compare themselves to how others dress, they do it with backpacks too. And so now that we're like, it doesn't matter how much you spend on your backpack because now they're all going to be clear. And it has helped us with security because now it's very visible as to what's in the backpack and we know what should be. And especially if there's any suspicion, that's all it takes. If you even think you see something in a backpack that shouldn't be there, tell the teacher, tell the officers, and they can do their job to make sure.
As far as the campuses, the district expanding when it comes to police, I know every year we talk about you have already had a hiring fair. Are you still looking to fill those ranks and requirements?
We're always recruiting. We're always looking for the best. In fact, we're going to be hiring at some point for the new middle school on the south side. And we were at the job fair, and I was completely full. And I asked my boss, I said, boss, he says, if you find a great candidate, snatch him up. And
Now.
so, yeah, I mean, he's a top draft pick, get him. And so we're always looking for the best because, I mean, CCISD, come on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about training, the training that they have to do.
My team is in training right now as we speak. So we do 3 weeks of training. We've got 3 different zones, 3 lieutenants, and they take their crew and they train with each other, building the esprit de corps, plus they also know how they're going to react under stress. So zone 2 right now, which is this school and some other schools, are in training right now. We did active shooter Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're at the range today, so we're going to get a lot of trigger time.
And that goes throughout the year. I mean, you're constantly fine-tuning those skills?
We fine-tune because with the new calendar that we now have over the last couple of years, there's lots of in-service days. So that gives us time to get back out there and, you know, you want to focus on the low-frequency, high-stress events. They almost never happen, so that's the ones you got to really focus on. And so we do a lot of firearms training, a lot of active shooter training, with the hopes we never have to use it.
Absolutely.
If I could just add, I just want to compliment Chief Warnke and his entire police team. They do so much for our district. And how many strong now are you? 40 strong?
Oh, we're a lot more than that, boss.
Bigger already? I've been here 14 years. It's just grown. But what I will say is that not only do they do a great job for our families and students and staff in CCISD, but they have become a model police force across the state. And again, many of those surrounding districts are coming to them. Can you come train our police team? Can we come use your simulator here in CCISD? So they're passing on their great work that's been recognized across the state. We feel really good about what they do for us.
Gentlemen, we need to wrap up the interview. I do want to give you the last word. When you're looking to the future, what are the plans? We've seen the growth on the south side. Are we looking to come back more inner city and improve things there and make things safer? What are you looking to do?
I love the question, and the answer is yes. While we're addressing the growth, because it's out on the south side, we can't forget that there are other facilities that are much older. You know, these schools were built in the 50s. Not so much the design that we would even consider today with our kids. And what we're seeing in Corpus Christi is that there is a lot of shift from the north side of Corpus Christi, west side, to mid-Corpus Christi, out to the south side. So those little elementary campuses just continue to get smaller and smaller. So no better way than to make ourselves more efficient is to get those older, smaller schools into a newer building and consolidate them so that we don't have so many schools. And that is what we're looking at.
And I'm going to quote my boss from yesterday. When we were at the ribbon cutting for Creekside, he said, the new schools incorporate contemporary security features, which is a term that was new to me. And it is exactly correct. These newer buildings are built a lot more secure. And so from a security point of view, I'm extremely proud of what we've done over the last 20 years.
Gentlemen, thank you so very much for
Thank
taking
you
time
so
out of your
much.
busy schedules. We wish you a great, successful year, a safe year, and a happy year as well.
Productive and
Thank
safe
you.
year. Thank you so much for what you do, and
Thank
thank
you.
your staff, all of CCISD, especially the teachers.
Yes.
You do so
Definitely the
good,
teachers.
yes,
Yes.
hard work.
Thank you very much.